I grew up in a very strict religious household that had a very clearly defined idea of what led to a successful life. And that success, it didn't include writing poems or playing music, you know, necessarily trying to get a good job besides something that's going to support you, or going to college, which is really kind of the crux of the entire thing. And I went along with it because my family was good to me. My congregation was good to me, and I was the oldest son, so certain pressures came along with it to conform to what they felt it meant to be a man and to be a successful person in general. It wasn't until about the 11th grade that I started to feel inside me a pull to try to explore something bigger in my life. And that led slowly to arguments that I would have with my parents. Every Thursday we would come together, we would sit and have like a family Bible discussion or something like that. And, there was always a question time at the end. And I would always be there with something that would throw a wrench in things, some kind of question about why God would do this, why God would do that. Like what I remember one conversation in particular where when Prince had just become a Jehovah's Witness. That's the religion that I was a part of, was Jehovah's Witness. Prince had just become one, and he was led in by George Benson, another musician. And I asked my dad, sitting at the kitchen table, what's the point of being a musician? Is there any point? Because ultimately, it doesn't mean anything to God. Like is it just going to take us away from Him? Little moments. Once I was riding in the car with my uncle, slightly before we found out that he was having an affair and was also disfellowshipped from our congregation. And I remember saying to him right before we pulled up to the house that I was scared to find something in my life that was really going to be a passion, something that I would be forever interested in. Because if I did that, that would take me away from Jehovah. That would take me away from what I know I needed to do. And he said, Warren, one day you're gonna grow up, you're gonna reach an age, it's gonna call the fuck it stage. And you're gonna say fuck it and do what you have to do. And that was the last time that I talked to him. Anyway, I think the real man up moment, the culmination of all of these little things that happened, was one day, also right before a family study, where I had recently gone to Penn. I realized that college was something that I just needed to do, and I didn't know why, but that I was going to regret it for the rest of my life if I didn't at least try to do this thing that I know ultimately, would take me away from what my parents believed and what they saw was best for me. And it was a hard moment, I cried. I was down in the living room, just basically saying that I'm sorry, but this is something that I have to do. They supported me as much as they could, and eventually we had to part ways. And at about 18, I had to strike out on my own without any support from them. Haven't had any support, at least financially, and in a lot of ways, at least with the interest that I've taken since. The reason that I feel it's important to highlight moments like these as man up moments is that too often I think when we talk about what it means to be a man, it's in reference to how we, what we do for other people, how we support others, how we live up to responsibilities that are put on us. And that's really important. But at the same time, I think if we as men are going to be able to transcend and to succeed and to be happy, we have to remember that being a man is also about finding out what it is that you truly want out of life and going for it. You know, like apart from anyone else, of just like having that courage to be happy. That was the hardest decision I've ever made in my life, but I'll never take it back. And that was the day that I started to become my own person. That was the day when I became a man. And for those watching this, I wish that same kind of that same kind of effort, that same kind of transcendence for all of you.